Thanks everybody for being here for the COVID-19 Recreation Working Group meeting. So today, just a quick rundown. We have Bobby Crench and David Cowett here from Littleton Youth Soccer Club to go over the plans, or I guess I should say amendments for play for soccer this coming fall. We also want to touch on the monitored remote learning program that we are working with in collaboration with Littleton Public Schools. We also wanted to revisit flag football. That's something we had talked about previously. I know Tim had some updates on that. And then we're also looking at working with CVS to do a drive-through flu clinic. I believe the date that we were looking at was September 12th. So we'll touch on those things a little bit later, but yes, we've got Bobby and David here right now, so we can kind of go over the soccer plan for fall. And I think the big thing for Bobby was to make sure that you know, the Board of Health and this group had time to review the documents. It's about 40 pages of the soccer operations plan. So it's very thorough. I've gone through it. The one thing that I really wanted Bobby to talk about with this group was the amended play. Because I know there were some concerns that originally soccer was listed as a high-risk sport, and it has since been changed to a moderate risk. And so I think Bobby's kind of gone above and beyond with some of these amendments to make play a bit safer. So I'll hand that over to Bobby and Dave if you want to chat about those amendments.
Sure. I mean, first of all, thank you all for being here. Really the main reason that I wanted to meet with you guys is just open a dialogue, and you know, in case something does arise and so on, and just sort of fill you in with some of the ideas we had and parts of our plan, and of course the modifications that we did this year, just to you know, to be safe and actually have the kids out there and playing. I'm just going to quickly run it down. We and how it works. So the state EEA sort of met with Massachusetts Youth Soccer and taking the state guidelines. Mass Youth Soccer creates their own guidelines that is included in this report. Their guidelines are very thorough, and we are going to follow those exactly. And from there, we added and sort of made it work for ourselves, just a number of certain things. We can mention a few of them during this call. If you notice on the report, one of the big things is just sort of the gathering limits, and we sort of separated our groups this year that, you know, our U6 and our Pee-wee, which is kindergarten and younger, are only going to be playing at St. Anne's. So Pee-wee's only plays on Saturday, and U6 does do a weekday thing and then on Saturday, but both sessions will be only at St. Anne's. So that's where they're only going to play. Meanwhile, our U8 is going to be only at Russell Street, which is first and second grade, and then our travel players, which are the third grade and above, will be at Corporate Field. And there might be a practice or two during the week at Russell Street, depending on availability and time for, you know, for the coaches and so on. I don't know if you guys want to I can pull up the basic soccer modifications that MISA has suggested, and we can just sort of discuss those.
You can share that, Bobby.
Yeah, I can. Am I able to share it, or do you have to make me a host? Okay.
You should be. If not, then I'll do that.
Just give me 1 second. Okay. So David, would you mind running these down?
That's fine, I can do that. And
Okay.
just as a prelude to this, some of you might know, you might have had kids in the program, grandkids, but when the kids are little, they play just Littleton versus Littleton. When they reach third grade, they start going and playing against other towns. And we play in the league called Nashoba Valley Youth Soccer League. So this year, at the league level, a lot of towns didn't feel comfortable playing against other towns and decided that they would keep their kids in their own town. And we in Littleton talked about it and decided to do the same. So third, fourth, five, six, seven, eight, and if we have high school age teams, everybody's just going to play in town, Littleton versus Littleton. So we're not going to go play elsewhere. I think it's going to minimize kind of the problems with contact tracing, running into Fitchburg, Leominster, and Groton, and whatever else. But so that's just the first kind of basis of this. But then, yes, what I'll be showing there is that we are trying to, we as a league, and also MISA, Mass Youth Soccer, trying to minimize any kind of potential contact with body fluids. It could be sweat, it could be blood, it could be saliva, anything like that. So to do that, they are banning heading. So there's not going to be heading of the ball at any level. They're trying to minimize body contact, so banning shoulder-to-shoulder contact, which is typically allowed. No slight tackling. They will remove throw-ins. So if the ball goes out of bounds, usually you would throw it in. They'll remove that so people don't touch the ball. It's going to be a kick-in instead. They will remove corner kicks. So corner kicks usually is lobbed in the zone, and you might have two players going for it and colliding, trying to get the ball. Removing the corner kicks to try to keep the ball on the ground, minimize contacts. And they would not do any drop balls, which is also, again, a challenge between two players right in front of each other. They'll give the ball to one team, and the other team has to be 6 feet away. So they're implementing a lot of different changes to try to minimize contact between players and minimize touching the ball. And we, as a club for Littleton, we've basically adopted all of this, and we've informed the members that if you're going to sign up for soccer this season, this is what's going to look like. So people are free to not sign up if they feel that it's not soccer anymore and they don't like the changes. That's fine. But if you're going to play, that's kind of the rules we're going to have to follow. And I don't know, Bobby, if there's anything else that you want to say, but I don't want to spend too much time on this.
Yeah. So those are the guidelines that the state and MISA sort of developed, and we've added a number of small things. One thing we're going to be directing our coaches to do is, during gameplay, any short stoppages, they're going to sort of reset the players into a 6-foot distance and then start play again. And we're going to constantly do that. We hope that will build sort of an understanding where they'll start doing it on their own eventually. But because they crowd up every once in a while, so it just every time we get the chance, we're going to reset it and separate everyone and then start playing again. Small things, there was a couple of small things, like ideas we had, and one thing we're doing is a lot of the older players, third grade and above, have their own soccer bags, and they bring their ball and their sweatshirt, water bottle, all of that they have in their bags. A lot of the little kids, kindergarten, they don't have this yet. They show up with a sweatshirt, a winter hat, a ball, maybe an inhaler. I don't know what they have, and they just throw it all on the ground. They start running around. This year, that's fine most years, and coaches have assistants, and they sort of just gather the players' possessions. We don't like that this year because it's just too much of contact, different people touching the stuff. So we bought, like I can show you, we have these drawstring bags. We're going to give it, and we have like Littleton soccer stickers that are about yay big, and I'm going to put it on the bag. And each kid at this younger level is going to have a bag, and sort of make sure their possessions when they come to the field are separated. And since it's see-through, they'll know which one is theirs. And we can write the name with a Sharpie on the bag. Just something extra that we're doing. we have these neon yellow shirts that we purchased that are going to, a lot of the coaches and what we are calling COVID officers that we're going to have in place are going to be wearing. They're going to be wandering the fields and just sort of overlooking everything, making sure that the parents are remaining away from the field, that they're remaining social distance from each other, that the kids equipment and the kids while they're on the sideline are separated, just overlooking everything, making sure all the coaches are following the guidelines. And we're going to give them a little bit of power to see if to see what is going on. If they're not happy with something, to stop play and talk to a coach and say, we need to make an adjustment right now, and so on. And that's going to be a meeting that we'll have in another week with these people once we sort of get the list of who's volunteering to do that. Just some other things. We'll have sanitized stations, 1 to 2 at each field location. This will have some gloves, sanitizer, for hands and for equipment, and so on, and some additional masks in case kids' masks rip or are lost or dropped on the ground or something. They just might need a mask. Do you guys have any questions for us? Anything that you can think of?
As far as all of the play, like parents on the sidelines, they'll be wearing masks. And what's the mask wearing for kids while they're playing? Is there any, or is it just by distance, or?
So this is a really interesting topic with soccer. So all the coaches and spectators, we're allowing actually 1 spectator per player, and this would the numbers work for us that it's going to stay within the 50 gathering capacity limit. But so all the coaches and spectators must wear a mask at all times, as well as any other volunteers we have. The kids must arrive wearing a mask and must leave wearing a mask. While they're on the sideline, they must wear a mask, and during play, they must have their mask with them at all times, but are allowed to either pull it down or take it off. If they do have a medical condition such as asthma, the guideline states, it's like almost a little bit of a gray area, but the guideline states, if I can find it, the exception for in play mask wearing is during high intensity aerobic activity. One can claim that all of soccer is a high intensity aerobic activity. Some may not. So it's sort of up for interpretation. So we were advised by Mass Youth Soccer and our travel league president that they should have their mask on them at all times. They can put it around their wrist. They can hold, have it on the ears. And as long as they have it, and we're going to encourage people to wear it, but it's just not a requirement based on of the guidelines that we're seeing. So
I think one of the understandings was that if the kids are wearing, like, let's say a buff while they're actually playing, that at any time where they feel like they're at a space where they don't have that 6-foot distance, that they would just be able to like pull it up, and so that could come up and down during gameplay.
And if I may jump in, just the question about the buff, the Mass Youth Soccer is worried about things worn around the neck that could be pulled or strapped around the head. So they recommend you use the ones around the ears, and that you just bring them down if you feel like exertion, that you're running and whatnot. But that's a good point.
That makes sense. Don't need them strangling each other when they're. It's inevitable. I mean, there's going to be some minimal type of contact during, games at some point. It is what it is. But yeah, we don't need anybody to get choked out.
Yeah, and we're wording it to our parents that this is a voluntary privilege. They don't have to play if they're not comfortable,
Right.
and so on. And even if they do want to play in certain things that we are doing, say in practice and so on, that are a little bit less social distance than others, they can opt out of just that particular drill or that part of play or so on, and no one's going to fault them for it. We do have a lot of soccer for Littleton is the highest registered sport. We have, even this year we have over 380 kids playing, and it's just a lot to organize, and that's why the report you see is pretty detailed and in depth and a lot of pages. But we wanted to give you guys sort of our whole change for the year, until for our play and so on. So I don't have anything else right now, but if you have any more questions.
I think, Bobby, a couple more things we can add is in terms of social distancing. So we are allowed 25 players and coaches and referees per field, plus 50 spectators. And the fields have to be at least, I want to say, 20 feet apart. So for example, at Kerper, we're allowed to make 2 sideways field on the big field, right? And we will do that, and we'll make sure that they're 20 feet apart, and that we locate the parents away from the players. We'll indicate where the parents can, sit and watch, and make sure that the cohorts don't kind of cross-contaminate each other, and we don't have the parents mingling from one field to the next. And same thing at Russell Street. Usually I think, Bobby, we can make 5 fields at Whitcomb, and now we're going to make maybe just 3 so that they're further apart and we can separate the crowds a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
We're doing a couple of things where, the players are usually on one sideline and the parents are on the other. This year, we're actually going to put one team's parents on one sideline, one team's parents on the other, and the one team on the baseline and the other team on the other baseline. So it'll be all separated that way, and we feel that can work. Those are for the younger kids, U8 and younger. The travel has to be a little bit different because we won't be able to. We really won't have use of the interior sideline. It just might be too congested. So we might just bring the players down to the baseline, and we're still trying to figure that one out. But the field gets bigger once we do 3rd and 4th grade. The field's a little bit smaller, and then we bring the next group in, and the field gets a little bigger. Things get a little bit tighter, so we might have to just separate a little bit more. But.
And Bobby and I are meeting with Stephen Witten and Sean Bernard on Thursday morning to go over all the field plans to make sure that we are getting the fields in the right position to create all of the space needed for spectators and all of those spaces. So we have that set up for this coming Thursday.
I did have a question. So we are hoping and expecting to play some of our 7th and 8th grade games at Alumni Field, and we're just waiting for word from Mike Lynn, depending on what his season or his schedule is going to look like. But the venue itself is difficult to sort of interpretate because it's like is the bleachers sort of a separate venue than the field there? No, it's just one full venue.
So, and that's what I'm looking for you right now, because I believe that with the executive order last week, I think your number also dropped to 50. I'm pretty confident in that statement. When it went from 100 to 50, it also impacts your groups as well. That's what I'm looking at right now. I'm trying to read the updated guidelines as we're going through this, but it is so if you have a soccer field, each field is limited to that number, but because a place like Alumni has that black fence around it, everybody inside that fence counts.
Okay.
So that space will count as a single venue, unlike Whitcomb, because Whitcomb's open and you'll be able to have the separation of the three fields with no borders around it, unfortunately.
Okay.
But at Whitcomb, you have the caveat that spectators standing back to back. So if you have two fields on Whitcomb, these guys can't ever be closer than 12 feet.
They won't even be closer than 30 yards.
Yeah, I'm just telling you what the way the regs are written, just so you guys know.
Yeah.
David and you can't be standing at your opposite kids' sidelines and turn around and come over and have a conversation. That's a no.
If you see our report, we mentioned them multiple times. We're going to.
I did.
And that's what one of the things our COVID officers are going to be making sure of. The thing I didn't mention is that each parent is going to actually get a colored lanyard.
Credential.
Or each player is going to get a color lanyard to give to their one spectator, and instead of us have to walk around and say, who do you belong to, who do you, and try to figure that out. We'll see right on their lanyard the color, and that would sort of say this person's supposed to be at this field. If they're not, then we might ask them to leave if they're just not, following what we're asking them to do. So.
So you guys are capped at 50 as well.
Yeah. So you're saying like if parents are on the bleachers at Alumni, that is part of that number. It's not a completely, since they'll never enter the inside fenced fielding area.
Correct. It's a facility.
Okay. All right. That's fine.
Same thing would apply to Jet, but not apply to the high school softball field. Just to make a comparison.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. That's fine. Yeah, I think that's all I have. Unless you guys have more questions.
Well, another safety measure too, and I don't know if it's mentioned in that document here, but sharing equipment is trying to obviously be limited. So we're not going to share goalie gloves. So if the kid has their own, they can bring them, play goalie. Otherwise, you play goalie without gloves. And the same thing with the training vest, the pennies, right? Usually we bring blues and yellows and we just mix things around in practice. We're not going to do that. We're not allowed to share pennies from players to players. So what we've done in the past, and Bobby's bought a whole bunch of pennies with numbers on them that we use for tryouts to try to kind of place the kids on different teams. So we're planning to assign one, and they're reversible, one to each player to keep the whole season. So that when they come to the field one day, they might be on the yellow team, and then if they have next week to be on the blue team, they just flip their penny over. But it's not going to be shared between kids. Each kid is going to keep it and then return it at the end of the season.
Perfect. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you went over everything, Bobby. Do you guys have, Joe or Scott, any questions about this plan at all?
For me, I'm impressed, Bob and Dave, at all the details and all the work you put into this. I've told this group before that I went to sporting events during the summertime, and it didn't have anything like this at all. So I'm impressed by the amount of time that's been spent and everything that's here. I had planned on printing it out right before and reading it, but I didn't know it was going to be a full book. That's the only thing. But I want to say that it looks great to me, and I'm very impressed with it.
Yeah, I can show one last thing. We're going to have some signage at the fields. One, just a basic social distancing sign, but we're going to make it fun. It's going to basically say, "Thank you for practicing social distancing," and then it says, "Please remain 8 soccer balls apart," and have little soccer balls, and then it'll be a little note on the bottom, saying a soccer ball is, this distance. So nobody will try to add up the numbers and say that we're not 6 feet. We're not, but
Because somebody will.
yeah, somebody would, but so, and then this is the other sign right here, that it's just different directions for each group. And we're going to make one of these up and put it at each location. And we're just going to zip tie it to the fencing. Or we might get, if you see like at a golf event where they have those sort of tee stands, we might put them on those on the field as they're entering. So,
Good.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like you guys did a great job at that.
The wording, wait, let me share the actual correct one. That's sort of the template.
I don't think we see it, Bobby.
Oh,
No.
you didn't see it? Okay, hold on.
Sharing is caring, Bobby. You have to share.
Sorry. Where am I here?
So as Bobby's looking it up, one more thing I just thought of, and maybe Bobby mentioned it, but the parents will have to sign a COVID waiver before the season, making sure that they're comfortable with what we're putting in place and that they will respect the rules. The kid will respect the rules. And every practice and games, the kids will have an index card with the questions. Do you have a fever? Have you been exposed to somebody with COVID? And they'll have to hand in that card every practice and every game. And if they don't have it, we'll have to go back to the car and get the parent to sign it. To make sure that everything is squared away for each event.
Yeah, now and that's mainly used for contact tracing in case something arises. But this is the signage we'll have on the field. Can you see it now? Okay. So it's really just condensing our whole overall plan.
So as a person who puts signs up all the time, Bobby, I will let you know that those yellow letters will last you 1 week out in the sun.
Okay.
So change the color on that.
We will. Yeah.
It's also a lot of writing. So I don't know if you want to break them out and have like parents its own page, game day practice is its own. Because I don't know if people will, I mean, right now we've got so much signage out at like 300 King. I feel like people just drive by.
Yeah.
But yeah, the more you can kind of break it out, the easier it is and the more likely people will actually read it.
Okay.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that. If you could break up those signs into like 4 separate laminated signs, it would probably do you a lot better because right now nobody's reading anything.
Okay.
Everyone's done with it. They just want it to be over. And if you can minimize it the best you can, I mean, it's a great summary for each. And, if you can just post those individually, you may have a better likelihood that somebody will actually read it.
Agreed.
All right. Well, it's a good suggestion. We can do that definitely. Yeah. So we're getting like, yeah. So we're gonna probably zip tie or just like I said, put them on T stands. Put them right in front of them.
Perfect.
Yeah. We got a couple of dispensers that we're putting sanitizer at our corporate field because we sort of control the shed there. Snack shack. We're not opening the snack shack this season. We're just not going to deal with that. Just something extra that we have to worry. And it's usually a gathering area, so it's probably not a good idea anyways. Last year we did a couple of ice cream days where like an ice cream truck came after the kindergartners play and then just sort of handed out ice cream. We want to do that again, but it's just we're a little bit concerned about. We think we can make it work and fair and more organize it enough that people aren't gathering too much.
If it's a truck, Bobby, that's like pre-packaged ice cream, you could totally do that. That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. If he's going to have an area where he's going to park or something like that, you get a few things that you can throw on the ground, even some lime put some powdered lime down and make your own line 6 feet apart. And, you can wing that and make that work. That's pretty simple, especially with the prepackaged stuff.
Okay. Yeah, and that's it. David mentioned the waiver and the cards that we're going to have for each day for the family to sign. Ours is good, more basic. It's included in the report. I've added a line or two since then. And I'm just going to pull that up because maybe if you have a suggestion to add a question to that.
It was similar to the attestation form that we use for camp that I sent to you, right? You guys just aren't doing the temperature checks.
Yeah, we just added, it's this right here, but we added one line that just says, have you been in contact with, anyone with COVID in the last 14 days?
So, Bobby, one of the things that I think is really important and that we ask is if the child has been given any type of ibuprofen, Motrin, or anything else, because if they have, it should be a disqualifier because it masks a lot of the things that you're asking.
Okay.
That should be a disqualifier for you. If they woke up and they needed to take Advil or Motrin, then they probably weren't feeling well. And
okay, yeah, okay. So we had room on it to add another line. So, but we were just handing them a card about 3 by 5 inches, and they'll just give them a stack before the season, and then they just have to bring the card to each practice and each game.
I have a question about these. How long do you think we should keep these things on file? So that's ourselves and someone like Bobby, if we have any issues where we have to go back and do contact tracing.
Keep them on file for the season.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we took what Camp T did for, what happens once there is a suspected case or contact or a confirmed case, and we sort of just made it our own, and that's included in the report. But it mentions we're going to contact the Board of Health, and I believe the nurse at the Board of Health is that what it says on there, and just sort of isolate them, and then they would have to stay home and not allowed, back on the field. I assume would contact one of you guys, and you sort of tell us what we're going to do since that point.
That would be Jim Garepi,
Right.
the Board of Health agent. So he would definitely be the person that if you have a positive case, you absolutely would go talk to him.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, even if somebody on the team had an exposure, had a legitimate exposure, they're going to be out for 14 days. So you kind of have to rely on the honor system with some of that stuff, that people are going to do the right thing. You can only hope.
I thought of this question, and I could see it happening, and I just hope people wouldn't do this. But say just someone travels, and then they come back, and they don't tell us, and they're supposed to quarantine, but then say somebody they know knows this and comes to us and says, "Hey, that kid, just got back from Florida or something," and I'm just worried that that's going to happen, and then we're something like that. I don't
So
know.
right now, with the state guidelines, anyone that travels out of state, they're supposed to go online and fill out the paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
It basically signs away, any of your liability, saying that yes, you were away, you have quarantined, or you were not exposed to anybody that's sick, anything like that. So that going forward, if they get sick, somebody knows that they've been outside, outside of the state, and it's a huge liability thing for them. Kind of taking on that ownership if someone else gets sick and due to their exposure. It's kind of in depth, but it really depends on who's going to call them out. Are they actually sick or not? And but if they do the paperwork and they're not, then they wouldn't have anything to worry about. But again, it comes down to people doing the right thing and being honest about that stuff and making sure that they weren't exposed to something.
And
Yeah.
you're right about the honor system there. I mean, just don't want to sidetrack us too much, but I was at a softball field this weekend. There was a team from Rhode Island there. Rhode Island, you're supposed to quarantine if you come here. So they came to play softball. So it's a question of, honor system, who turns them in, whatever. But hopefully we don't have to deal with that with our pro.
I think they got taken off the ban list.
Oh, did they?
They did now?
Yeah, I think they got put on it for like a week and a half.
Okay. Yep. Okay.
All right. So,
I'm not really. I'm more concerned of just somebody doing it, not necessarily being sick, but just us having the knowledge of somebody traveling that was choosing not to do the right paperwork and not inform us and just try to sneak their way back into playing, thinking that everything is fine, and then us finding that out, and then sort of,
I would just have an open conversation, Bobby. I mean, at this point in time, your job is to make sure that all of the kids and staff or not staff, sorry, I'm thinking of our situation, but the kids and the coaches and everybody are staying safe. So if you hear something like that, you should be able to have a conversation with the parents and say, hey, we heard this, we're asking, please, it's, the safety of everybody involved, please quarantine, we don't expect to see you at practices or games for the next 14 days. You guys can have that conversation. You're free to. I would suggest doing it.
And most people are following the rules and are just happy that we're putting the effort into get this done for for their kids to play. So
Yeah.
Everything that we received so far has been very positive. But 380 kids, there's going to be one or two parents that are going to have something. There always is. So I guess
At least.
So I'm sure something will arise. You'll probably hear from me asking a question and so on. But yeah.
All right. So we still have 3 more agenda items we've got to get to. And we're about 50 minutes in. So is there any other questions that you have or any other statements, Joe or Scott, you've got?
Nope. That good job. Looks, you cover all the bases and hope for the best. Good luck.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Bobby.
All right. We'll sign off. All right.
Nice job, guys. Good luck.
All right. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Okay. I'll see you Thursday.
Thanks for your time.
So I wanted to follow up on the monitored remote learning program. Just a couple quick updates. So we did meet with Steve Mark and Kelly Clenchy, superintendent of Littleton Public Schools. And they are on board with this program to work collaboratively. So the big issue that we're running into right now is figuring out licensure. So technically, if you have a childcare program, which this model kind of fits into, you would need to have a license from EEC. So at this point in time, they have been overwhelmed by requests from Parks and Rec departments and YMCAs and Boys and Girls Clubs, all of these different groups to be able to assist schools, and they're not sure what they're going to do right now. So at this point in time, we have the option to get a camp licensure through September 30th. But after that, we will need something else if we're going to continue the program. So we're trying to figure that situation out right now. The one understanding based off of previous regulations is that if the program, such as ours, were to be sponsored or endorsed, I guess sponsored is not the right word, endorsed by the superintendent of the school district, that we would be exempt from licensure. I have asked, because Kelly did say that he would be willing to write a letter to endorse the program. But they have said at this point in time, they're not answering any questions because they don't have any answers. So, that's the one thing that's kind of holding us back from moving forward with really making this program run. So, that's kind of the update that I have at this point in time. Tim, did you want to follow up?
Yeah, I mean, the only follow-up I have to that is we do have a Massachusetts Park and Rec Association meeting tomorrow. It's the Northeastern Conference, but we did invite all 400 rec departments in the thing to come and join us if they want. There is one member who will be joining us from the EEC, who works with David Mountain and his team up in Danvers Park and Rec, because they do have one of the larger child care programs. She's going to field some questions that she can. Dave and his team are going to walk everybody through on, how they got their program started, what they do, best practices, things like that, to kind of get the ball rolling in the right direction, and just kind of help everybody out. As far as this morning goes, last week we sent a drafted letter to the EEC and the Department of Health at the state level on behalf of the membership, asking them to, either be in communication or open up to some of the executive board members to get a seat at the table, as we did for the outdoor recreation programs, and helped, draft that guidance. Today, each individual rec department reached out to their senators and representatives with not really a draft letter, but kind of just a letter on behalf of each of the departments saying, hey, we're trying to get this going. The ask has already been there. And, we operated on average this summer with 1,400 kids in most of our programs. We didn't have any incidents, so why reinvent the wheel? The easiest thing to do at this point is to, extend the camp guidelines through the school year and make the necessary amendments, rather than have all of these departments need to become licensed in order to do so. So that's where we're working from the Massachusetts Park and Recreation Association side on this. As far as everything else is concerned, we are going to meet with Jim and Scott tomorrow. I have everything laid out, essentially everything from my truck all the way through the tables to what the classrooms are going to look like. I'm going to walk you guys through the entire thing as if it were opening tomorrow. So signage will be there, arrows will be there, all that kind of stuff. We'll walk it from start to finish, so that you guys can get an idea of what we're laying out. And then once we get said guidance, we will essentially all we're going to do is change all the camp documents that we have, put the logos and the right verbiage and everything into that, in order to meet the necessary guidelines, and just, like I said, re-implement what we've been doing that's been super successful, because we know how to do it and we're good at it.
Is the fact that the movie theater is reopening next week going to interfere with, all of your stuff that you're putting down, your direction, your logos, your wall, things you hang on the walls, any of that stuff?
So it will add a little bit of extra for us, because what we'll end up doing is the room aide will need to come in 15 minutes earlier to put the sign back on the door, to put the arrows back down on the floor. We're going to make all of that so it's pretty easy to pick up and just put into a folder. So you'll basically have, a little tote box, one of those plastic with the blue lids, normally are clear. You'll have all your signs, everything in there. And essentially you'll pick up your box from the storage room, go to your thing, put your sign up, put your arrows out, put your students, names on the desk that they're at, and then, that'll be part of opening and closing. The one thing that it actually does do is the sanitization is going to be that much better, because not only are we going to be sanitizing, but they're going to be doing a deep clean every night before we come in the next day. So their outside vendors are going to be back on the payroll. So rather than just our janitor doing it, we have an actual team coming in and deep cleaning the theater every single night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they do a good job.
Yep.
The time frames don't intersect at all. So there's a separate like our program and then theater time. They're different.
Okay. Excellent.
Yeah, and those guys have been great doing this, and it's as much as this is going to help out the community, this is going to help their business as well. So, any other questions? I mean, you'll get to see it all in real life tomorrow. We'll take some pictures and we'll update the COVID group on our next meeting so that they can kind of see and give their own feedback on what they're thinking about it.
Sounds good.
Just a reminder again that we're going to be trying to coordinate, and this is where I wanted to have Jim Gareffi and Kevin on, because I know this is something we needed to talk to them about, but we're trying to coordinate with CVS to be able to do like a drive-through flu clinic, specifically because the kids are going to need to be able to get those immunizations, and it's not something that's part of the normal immunization. So we're wanting to try to provide those opportunities for parents to go through and get the kids set before school starts. So we are looking at September 12th as the date that we would do it. 10 a.m. Is that what we said, Tim?
10 to 2.
10 to 2. And we would,
whenever we're done, everybody who wants to sign up. So we can take one
Where?
vehicle every 15 minutes.
so we would do Russell Street Elementary School, where you would drive through. So you would have where the buses turn around.
You already have that okayed with the schools and stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're pumped that we're doing it.
Cool. All right. No, we had a little bit of discussion also with like the volunteer corps and stuff like that. So they may be able to assist with some of that stuff.
Cool.
So I just what was the time frame on that also?
10 to 2.
Okay.
And the more the merrier.
Yeah, Scott, I mean, if we could coordinate something like that, because we're really, really restricted in the number we're going to be able to offer just based on the kits that they're going to have, as well as the time frame and staff they're going to be able to provide. If there's an opportunity for, and that's what Alicia was mentioning, if the Board of Health wants to run one concurrently, or if you guys can, where we can have elementary kids go to Russell Street and middle school and up go to the middle school parking lot cul-de-sac. I think that would be really awesome if we could partner together and give as much help as possible at the same time. Because as far as the sign-up times go, that's easy. So if we could just separate the groups and say, you're going here and you're going here, and we could have just all the resources available, I think that would be really cool.
Because we only have one person that's going to be able to actually give the inoculations. So
Right.
that's so if you know more people, and again, I don't know, that's something we'd have to coordinate with the group that we're working with, because I don't know if they can,
Yeah, I'll reach out to Neshoba Nursing and talk to Tamara. It may be short notice for that, but let's see what we can do. What's the deadline? I think is mid-November that everybody has to have all students are required to have their flu shots by.
So it doesn't have to be a one and done. I mean, this is something that we can try to arrange, like, every other weekend or whatever the need is, honestly.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. Weekends are gonna be difficult for anything, it's gonna afternoons or something like that. Or location, location specific, but and depending on the day. But I'll reach out to Neshoba and find out if they're even able to help out with that.
Cool.
Okay. Thanks, Scott.
And then Tim, I'm going to turn over the last one to you about the flag football, because I know you wanted to revisit that.
Yeah, so we John, he can't be here today, but he wanted to kind of revisit. I know flag football kind of got a hard no at the beginning of the conversation when we had it about a month and a half ago. I'm just going to share my screen. So I've been emailing back and forth with Plymouth Recreation, and just to let you guys know kind of the scope of what they're operating. So their flag football league is one of the largest ones in Massachusetts. They have just under 500 kids in their program, even during this summer. And they were able to achieve all of that without having any cases. I think if they can do it with that many children, we can do it for 40 to 50 adults. So these are their flag football guidelines that they put in place. They did 6 regular season games per team. The playoffs are actually tonight. They had a bracket put together. The final game is going to be Thursday night. So pretty much the same stuff that we've worked across recreation departments as a whole. Anyone experiencing symptoms has to stay home. Coaches, which we wouldn't have to wear face coverings at all times. So that would just go to all the players on the sidelines, similar to what Bobby had talked about. Same thing we're doing at softball as we currently have it. Athletes must wear face coverings at all times while not actively participating. No team shared drinks or anything like that, which we already don't have because we're on Alumni Field. No touch rule, so players should remain from high five, handshakes, other physical contact with teammates, opposing players, or anybody else. No spitting. We don't have spectators at our games, so that would be omitted. We don't have parents at our games. 10-foot players boxes for coaches and players marked off with the sidelines. 15-minute breaks every game between the games to keep from transferring. Spreading out game fields so there are only 2. So we only play 1 game at a time anyway. Hand sanitizer will be given out. We have plenty of hand sanitizer. Thank you for the new cabinet, Scott. It's being used very well. Socially distanced huddles. So everybody in the huddle needs to be 6 feet away. So, take that as you will. You're hollering out your plays, so the other team has a better advantage anyway. Players must exit the field of play if they touch their mouth guard at any time during the game. They must come off the field and sanitize their hands and go in on the next dead ball. All balls are cleaned before and after every game. They did add, for the younger kids, they were also sanitizing at halftime as well, plus sanitize routinely throughout the game. She did add that in there. Teams are assigned a game ball, and only their team uses that ball. So what we would do is have 2 balls, and whenever the team was quarterbacking, that quarterback would be in charge of bringing out his ball. If any time there was an interception or anything, the other team would then get their ball. The other ball would be sanitized for the next set of downs. Constant contact with Board of Health, just like we do for softball and everything else. And then a supervisor, so John Kazanjian, to make sure that everything listed above would be taking place. Like I stated, we had softball all summer. This is very similar in a way to softball as far as, you're throwing a ball around. Yes, the interactions for hitting and touching and, bumping into each other are greater. We've also talked about, rather than doing flags where there's the pulling and there's, the grabbing, do we just change that to touch? But I guess the moral of the story is that there's a lot of municipalities who are out there doing this. We have a very successful adult flag football league, and we just wanted to revisit the opportunity of, possibly offering this as something for people to get outside continually throughout the fall. And, we are very confident based off of our adult softball league that, we could put something like this in play and be safe doing it.
With everything that's going on and, seeing Plymouth and stuff like that, I don't have an objection to it, but that's just me. So
Yep.
There's other groups that, between Board of Health and the board, that'll need to, weigh in on that. I think, as time is moving on, everybody is seeing and figuring out what's working and what's not, and putting the proper things in place to make it work, to get around it. And It may not be optimal, but it's working, and people are getting out there and doing stuff outside. A lot of these functions or events that are outside they're great. They're in the open air. It's not like you have a gym full of kids. So it's definitely, and it's not like it's a party where you're all shoulder to shoulder for long durations. It's quick passes and things like that. Yes, there's some close contact, but not really. It's quick, short periods of time, and that's huge. For any of that exposure stuff. But as you're seeing some of these larger communities that are doing it with very little, if any, exposures and issues, then hey, all right, they're figuring out how to make it work. But
Joe, do you have any thoughts on this?
No, I'm fine with it. I guess my only question would be, how do you block somebody? No.
We don't allow blocking in our league.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can basically set a pick, but you can't physically block in our football league. We
And I have
never
no objection.
allow
Yeah.
that.
Sounds good to me.
So, all right, that was really it. So, we'll see, Joe. If you're available, and want to come walk through the monitor thing, by all means, you're invited to come tomorrow. It's at 8 a.m. at O'Neill Cinema. Whoever might want to join us, we're going to try to keep it to an hour, no more than an hour. There's still a lot that needs to be done. I'm hoping that we can get through it in 30 minutes and have like 15 minutes for questions. We don't really need any answers tomorrow. I just want everybody to digest what it actually looks like, think about it, and then give whatever they think that their opinion or advisories are at some point over the next week or two while we try to get the rest of this together.
I might try to do that. I'll manage on my work schedule because today a lot of my day was taken up by town stuff, and I got to get back to work.
Sorry about that.
If you can make it, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
All right.
That's
Thank you,
all I
everybody.
had for the day. So I know I'm going to meet with Board of Health tomorrow night just to talk about the monitored remote learning program again and the licensing issue. So if you guys have any questions, I think what I'm going to end up doing is theoretically, we should hopefully be getting an answer on what's going to happen with this licensing. So I'm probably going to set up another one of these meetings for next Thursday because I feel like the response that I've gotten from EEC is that they need like midweek till I can get an answer. So hopefully if we set something up for next Thursday, we'll get an answer. Okay.
yep, yeah.
Thank
Next
you all for your time.
Thursday, I will not be available next Thursday.
No. Okay.
Sorry.
The way it works. It's okay.
Yep. All right.
All right. Thank
Yeah,
you all
good
for your time. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Thank you guys. Have a great day.